Hello again, boys and girls. Episode 2.
Hello there, everyone.
How have you been, my friend? How have you been?
Well, after the, might as well tell everyone, after the issues that we just had in our little pre-thing that we did, could be
The
better.
first thing that's gone wrong so far with this podcast, I must say.
That's true. So apologies in advance for my audio being utter dog shit once again, but the microphone hasn't worked, so I'm going to have to think of another solution at some point.
We'll figure it out, mate. We'll figure it out. I mean, like I said, we should have probably hopped on earlier in the week and figured it out then, but as usual,
Probably.
we lead busy lives and it's not always possible, is it?
Oh, so annoying though.
So, in the past 2 weeks, mate, what have you been up to? What Star Wars related activities or purchases have you made? Anything or anything?
Well, started more Shadowhunter, and I've barely gotten through. I think I'm on chapter 6, and it's good so far. But also, it's not exactly the most riveting story so far. But that can always change, and I hope it does, because I literally want to read that and then get onto the Horus Heresy of Warhammer. So that's my plan.
It's definitely not like a world-changing book, but it's a fun one, I think, and definitely worth sticking it out till the end. The ending's really good. That's all I'll say. Got 3 topics today to speak about. I don't know which one you want to start with, Rev. We haven't discussed this. Again, unprepared.
Well, I think the one thing we should get out of the way in terms of new stuff, Rebuild the Galaxy came out. That was something that happened.
And it was good.
And it was fun. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot more. I initially just went into it because I wanted to see all the stuff with Revan, but with that, I've not watched the first one that they did. I can't remember what it was. I think it was just called Rebuild the Galaxy. I didn't watch Series 1, but I really enjoyed this. It was just a fun little thing.
Yeah. How was the experience going into season 2 for you, having not seen the first season?
Mostly fine. I was just like, well, I wasn't too bothered about not knowing everything that happened in Series 1, and I think you can piece it together pretty easily. There's 2 brothers, one of them wants to be evil. I can't remember what the pilot woman's name is, and there's also some Sith people as well. I'm just able to just drop right in the middle of it with no problem. It didn't bother me whatsoever. Did you see season 1?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I watched it when it came out, and I rewatched it actually before season 2 came out. I really like it. I think that, like I said to you, like, not to blow it out of proportion or anything, but I feel like the lore in itself, obviously separate from Star Wars canon, is interesting enough. You know, Solitus and stuff like that. What did they call it? The Force Void? What was it called that he was banished to?
The Force Hold. The Force Hold.
Yeah, I found that very interesting. And
same.
I think you said to me on a text there, Solitus is what people think Nihilus is, which I thought was quite
people cool. the way whilst I was watching it, and he was just like banishing people to this Force Hold left, right, and centre, and he was just like unstoppable. I was like, holy shit. This is what people who don't understand Nihilus or haven't played KOTOR 2, this is what they think he is. It's like, no, he's not.
Would have been a really interesting character to do in a proper Star Wars show, I think. Something that wasn't Lego, I think it'd have been an interesting character either way.
Maybe, but I feel like it goes back to what Sam Witwer said about Starkiller, and if you translate him to other mediums, like if you put a character in something that can rip Star Destroyers out of the sky, you kind of break Star Wars a little bit.
Yeah, you do. Which is going to come up later in the stream. I think we should maybe end with the topic of Mr. John Boyega, who is in the title of this video.
I think since it's in the title, we should dive right in.
You want to go into it now?
Yeah, because I both agree with some of what he said, but also I look at it and feel like he's just using certain phrases as a dog whistle to certain Star Wars fans, and it's like, you're trying a little bit too hard, and it's a bit cringe. And also, it's his literal statement that he made was so he contradicted himself.
Yeah, it did.
So for those who don't know, John Boyega was recently interviewed, or I don't know, just on Twitter or something.
I think it was
What
at a
he would
convention.
have done. Oh, was it at a convention? Basically, what he would have done if like he had done the sequel trilogy, like what changes would he have made? And the first one that he made was he would have put more focus on the legacy characters, and I think it was not have them die or whatever. Them dying is not the problem, I think. As someone who has said quite a few times, my main issue with the sequel trilogy is how it handled the legacy characters. Obviously, with Carrie Fisher, there was only so much they could do for that. She passed away. You can't do much in that scenario. And obviously, Han Solo wanted to die. So really, my main issue is just how they handled Luke. That I agree with. If he wants to sit there and say the legacy characters were wasted and they shouldn't have all died, agreed. Then he proceeded to say that he would have included stuff from the Old Republic, which I guess to an extent you could have included some of that lore as little nods here and there, but you could only include so much before it was just ridiculous. And then the last thing he said was he wouldn't have had such a focus on overpowered characters, then proceeded to say he'd love to have done stuff from Force Unleashed, which, to be fair, that could mean anything. I don't think he necessarily means, let's bring in Starkiller. Maybe he just means, like, oh, the Shadow Guards would have been really cool, or something like Raxus Prime would have been really cool. But it's just like, dude, you can't sit there and go, you don't want overpowered stuff, then talk about the most OP Star Wars game in history. Like, come on. And to me, it just, because I feel like the two big things that people talk about when trying to be anti-Disney and sort of dog whistle to Legends fans is The Force Unleashed and The Old Republic.
Absolutely. I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there. The thing is when you say about the dog whistling, I don't know what his end game is, but there's something that appeals to him about grifting with this corner of the Star Wars fandom. He wants to be in their good graces. I don't know why. I don't know what he thinks he'll gain from this. But like you say, the Old Republic and the Force Unleashed are two of the biggest topics that you could turn to support that narrative.
Yeah.
The contradiction of him saying about overpowered characters and then going into mentioning the Force Unleashed, I don't think that John Boyega would know what Raxus Prime is. I don't think that he would know.
Maybe not.
I think that he's played a little bit of the Force Unleashed maybe when he was younger, because he's like, I believe he's like our age, or just a little bit older than us, or like more my age.
I think. Well, I was going to say he's more your age. He's not.
Yeah.
I'm not about to go and collect my pension. Let's get that thing straight.
I think
still a spring chicken.
He's not that much older than me, so he probably played the Force Unleashed as a kid, just as I did. Do I think he knows all about the little pieces of lore in the Force Unleashed? No, I don't. Do I actually think that he's played through all 8 arcs in the Old Republic game? No, I don't at all. I think he's seen the trailers, and that's probably about it.
But at the same time, I feel like we also can't sit here and say that he hasn't, because literally, for all we know, he could have played the fucking Force Unleashed multiple times and read both of the books and the comic. There's no way for us to really know, but it does feel like he's just using those terms because it is a popular way to just try and pull people to agree with you. Because I've seen that shit firsthand, and I get why it works, because I was an Old Republic fan like that at one point. But I see through the potential bullshit that he's trying to pass off.
Well, there's a lot of people that are jumping on his dick right now, and these people, for better or worse, have had bad things to say about John in the past, and now
yes, they have.
I guess
they've suddenly switched up.
Exactly, which I guess plays into the theory that he would be doing it to fall into the good graces of that type of Star Wars fan. And it's working, obviously is.
Which is such a dumbass move, because if he thinks by doing this he's going to get in Disney's good graces and be in the Rey movie that's potentially happening, think again. It's going to do the opposite. It's going to do the exact opposite.
I don't even know if he thinks that he could write them better than the writers that wrote the sequels. I think he's very bitter about the way that he was handled in the sequels, but that all plays
Which is fair.
into my John Boyega hot take, and I don't know if you're going to
Yes,
agree with me with it.
because you haven't told me this yet. You told me you had a hot take, but you didn't tell me it off air. So now I'm curious.
I do. Everyone has always said about how he was mishandled, and they've gone into, that they maybe flipped to Rey like it wasn't always the plan, or they should have done more of a story where he was a Jedi in the end, or whatever. I think that there was intention to do more with that character. I think when they started rolling with John, I don't think he was the actor that they thought they'd hired. So I'm not saying that they changed everything on a dime. I'm saying that progressively as the movies went on, the character became less because they didn't see John as the actor to be able to portray the character that Finn was supposed to go on to become. Maybe it's not so black and white as that, but I feel like John can do the side character, the comedy relief, way better than he could do like a serious Jedi protege or something like that.
I think he could have done both, but I think the real reason the pivot was done, other than for the sake of having a nice little plot twist in The Force Awakens, are you aware of the poster controversy for Episode 7?
Yes, I am. It's gross.
I think that is the reason they might have switched gears. I think it went a lot deeper than just shrinking a black guy on the poster. Was it the poster for China or something like that?
It's disgusting.
I think it goes. I think it goes deeper than just shrinking John Boyega on the poster. I think it went into the films themselves, which is a massive shame, and it's obviously disgusting and shouldn't have happened in the first place. But I think that's the real reason it happened. I still would have liked to have seen him go on to be a Jedi and stuff, but the problem is, another issue I have with Last Jedi is that he feels like an afterthought, and as a result, he just kind of repeats his character arc from the first film. He fights Kylo Ren, admittedly gets his ass kicked a little bit, and then at the start of the next movie, he's back to where he was at the start of The Force Awakens, and he wants to run away again. I don't think that works. I think that doesn't work.
I don't think that he could have done what Daisy did in those movies. I don't think that he could have played a similar character or anything. I certainly don't think he could have replaced Rey in that role.
No, I think with Finn being a sort of more comedic and funny character, I think had they done the thing where he became a Jedi with Rey, because Rey was quite stoic and serious for a lot of those films, I think if Finn had become a Jedi and he was a lot more fun and excited about it, they could have bounced off each other really fucking well if they went that route. And I think it would have given a very cool arc to Rey, where she sort of learns to stop being a super serious Jedi who has these obviously amazing gifts and things like that. And he's just like, we're fine, we're Jedi, just lighten up just a little bit. I think that could have been interesting, but obviously, in the end, he just doesn't really do much. And I think it's a shame, I really do, because I'm not going to lie, if I got cast in a Star Wars project and they made it seem like I was maybe going to be a Jedi, and then in the end I just wasn't, I'd be pretty pissed off as well, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but you have to remove yourself from that. I mean, the guy's an actor, so at the end of the day, he'll play the character that he's told to play if he accepts the role. Do you know what I mean? And
True.
He did accept the role. He was paid for the role. The character went off in a direction that he personally didn't see it going, but who gives a fuck? He has no say in that. His job is to play the role. Now, can I just stress here that I actually like John Boyega? I think he's very charismatic. I've posted some of his clips before on my TikTok and stuff like that, like highlighting good things that he said. I like the guy. I enjoyed his marketing for the sequel trilogy all while that was going on. He was on talk shows and stuff. Always enjoyed that. The character of Finn in The Force Awakens, especially, I enjoy that character. would I want to see John Boyega play the character that goes to Act 2 to train with Luke? No, I really wouldn't. And I guess that's maybe just like a serious hot take, and I stand alone with that. But I really wouldn't have liked to have seen that from that actor. I just don't think he's the right guy for that role.
I also think it would have been quite maybe interesting if, this is also going to be a hot take, I suppose, because obviously Rey was the one that became the Jedi, and in episode 9 she's being taught under Leia. I think if Finn had become a Jedi, it kind of would have given closure to Leia to sort of have maybe like an adopted son in a way that she did train properly. And obviously Luke got closure because he trained Rey as well. So I think it would have been just a nice little bit of closure for both the characters before they both turned into Force ghosts. But obviously you still get that because they see Rey on Tatooine at the end of 9. So you do still kind of get that. I don't know. I think it would have also, the sequels would have gotten less criticism for being too similar to the original trilogy if Finn did become a Jedi, because instead of just having one Last Jedi, like Luke was in the original trilogy, you then have two. Instead, obviously, you have Ben Solo who changes that. But even then, you could have then also had a really badass Jedi trio. In fact, 3 really badass Jedi struggling against Palpatine, even though I don't think it should have been Palpatine in that film, would have been really cool. But obviously, again, it was 6 years ago, nearly, that it ended. So
yeah,
it's not like we can just change it anyway.
I mean, it's crazy that people still so passionately hate those movies. Although I have seen some people flip-flopping now on that and using them as an example of what good cinematography is in comparison to the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, but we'll get to that soon. That's very odd to me that people are doing that. It's very odd. I also find it a more interesting arc for Finn is his former career as a stormtrooper, way more than his Jedi potential, for me anyway. I thought that was explored not as much as it could have been.
But I also think they kind of let that down a little bit as well, because I've never been a fan of the I've always hated the joke on Starkiller Base where he reveals that he was basically just a janitor. It's like, well, that doesn't really, obviously that's his station on Starkiller Base, not as a soldier, but it just kind of, again, it's the comedy in the sequels that I don't like. I think one of my issues with all 3 of them is the comedy feels like it's more out of a Marvel movie and not. It doesn't feel natural, whereas I always thought that the comedy in previous Star Wars films felt more natural for the most part. Obviously, there's some dumb shit like that weird space camel fighting at Jar Jar in The Phantom Menace. There's silly stuff, obviously, but I think a lot of the humour in 7, 8, and 9 was just a little bit too MCU. And I'm someone who likes the MCU. But there's some stuff in there, like Hux being thrown around. I remember when I saw Last Jedi, and when Poe does that call, and he's basically making mom jokes, I was like, what? But this isn't, no. This isn't right.
That's always been an issue for me as well, is the comedy aspects. Some of it has its place, some of it really doesn't. I remember being a little bit jarred in the cinemas for Force Awakens when we first see Kylo Ren, and Poe hits the who talks first? You talk first, I talk first. And I'm just like, this is the first time. It's the first time we're being
introduced to this new villain, and he's just had the... Imagine if when Vader walks through that door in episode 4 and he lifts up Captain Antilles or whatever his name is, and the guy's just like, could you put me down, please? I can't talk if you're strangling me. Oh, fuck off. Like, oh wow, I can see the top of your fucking head. Your helmet's very shiny, Lord Vader. Not a euphemism. I've never I've never liked that and it's such a shame as well because we've just seen him stop a blaster bolt mid-air and kill the preacher from The Exorcist, and now he's just been had the piss taken out of him. Speaking of Kylo Ren and Poe, I'll share this on the podcast. I once had such a dark theory about that interrogation. Remember when the trailers came out and we had like a few shots of Kylo interrogating Poe in the thing? I remember me and my friends were like, oh, what's he doing? What do you think the new villain's doing? And I like sat there stone faced and I was like, this probably isn't what's happening, but what if with the Force he's pulling his skeleton forward and pushing his flesh backwards? So he's like trying to rip him out of his body. And they're like, that's probably not what's happening. I was like, yeah, no, but it'd be fun if it was. Turns out he was just reading his mind.
Yeah.
And maybe back in the day, they would have gotten me to write some Legends books just based off that idea.
That would have been brutal, man. It would have been brutal.
Very, but awesome as fuck.
How are we doing? We're doing good, man. We're doing good. Good to have you back in the chat.
It is indeed. Welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kybakest has said Rev's cooking, which you was then, bro, to be fair. You was on a roll there.
I was. I just, that, again, the humour in... There's some jokes that I think land in those films. Like, little things like when they get to Starkiller Base, the door opens, and that stormtrooper just fucking flies across the deck because of the bowcaster. That was really funny. But I've also never liked Kylo Ren's temper tantrums. I always thought they were pretty shit as well. Because it's not... You've just made your villain look like a bitch, I think, as opposed to an intimidating bad guy.
I think more like a young, untrained teenager. Which I know he's not a teenager in the movie, but I think that's what they're going for. They're going for this, like, this young, broody emo. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's really what he was. He was such an emo. I think maybe if they just did it the once, it would have been fine. But there's like 3 separate tantrums in those films. It's like, dude, just stop. You're smashing your helmet because your dad hurt your feelings when you just had a chat with him. Like, just relax. But on the plus side, we then got the reforged helmet in episode 9, which I think is badass as shit, with the red cracks all over it. I love that helmet.
It is good. And the monkey that reforges it. It's like a chimp, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that species.
This weird little rat monkey thing, who I'm pretty sure they then kill.
You see, I really, really love that film. Like, The Rise of Skywalker. I absolutely love it. And I know that, like, you know, it's not a popular opinion, but I don't give a fuck.
It's still out of all of the Star Wars films, it's my least favourite. And it's not it. But again, yeah, because like I said, I think I said it last time, Last Jedi at least has mostly good ideas. I just don't agree with their execution. Rise of Skywalker, I just think, is somewhat hilariously just shit. And a lot of that is also down to my personal bias that Palpatine is in it. No one's ever going to convince me that was a good idea. I don't care how good of a character he supposedly is. No. But I also don't agree with, I know a big facet of Star Wars is redemption and things. Fuck that. Kylo Ren should have been the main villain and he should have died as the main villain. I like the fact that originally, they've said that originally he was going to be like a reverse Vader, whereas Vader went from evil in the original trilogy to then being redeemed. Kylo was just going to get more and more evil as it went on.
Mm-hmm.
And then just, nope, instead... He's a massive simp, and he dies anyway.
The thing is, to me, is there's a lot of shoulds and coulds when it comes to the sequel trilogy. I feel like when you practice, I'm not saying this to you. I'm not telling you how to suck eggsy and how to be a better Star Wars fan, and I'm not saying that to anybody. You can dislike and like whatever you choose to. But what I will say is when you start to sink into some acceptance of what the sequel trilogy is. And the story that we got, rather than the story that you wanted or that could have been, you start to really pick apart things that you like from it. And then when you do that, you start to enjoy it as a whole more. I'm not saying it's going to become your new favorite trilogy in the saga, but you can really find enjoyment in that story, that 3-movie story, more when you just accept that it's not going to change. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I'm less harsh. I'm like, I used to be one of those fucking idiots. Like, Last Jedi's the worst movie ever made. It objectively isn't. Like, shut the fuck up. No, it's not. And I can look at a lot of the stuff in Last Jedi and be like, that. All I say to people, I really wish Rian Johnson got to make a Star Wars movie that had nothing to do with the Skywalker saga, because I think it would have been like a top 3 Star Wars film. But instead, we got Last Jedi instead, and it's just like, no, I see what you're doing, but that doesn't mean it's good or that I like it.
It's like, you know how people hate the Rey Skywalker scene at the end of Rise? Even though
people need to stop talking about that. It's been, like I said, it's been 6 years.
Well, it's the last 20 seconds of the movie, so if that's going to ruin the whole trilogy for you, that one thing alone, then have a look in the mirror. Do you know what I mean? Research your fucking life and sort yourself out. Because if I was to pick something from the sequel trilogy that I didn't like and let that consume my whole opinion around the whole trilogy, for instance, I don't like the Fathia chase. I think the Fathia chase should be literally removed from The Last Jedi. Just leave it out. It doesn't need to happen, that Fathia chase. I think it looks bad. I don't think it feels Star Wars. I think it fucks with the pacing of the film. Unnecessary. I hate that film. I hate that scene in that film. It doesn't make me hate the film, is what I'm saying. And when The Last Jedi is brought up in conversation, I don't immediately jump to the Fathia chase because I don't like that aspect of it. So why would I? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of people's beef with the Rey Skywalker thing is just that it's a character they don't like who's taken the Skywalker name, which I guess is fair. But my beef with it has always been, of all the things that I give Last Jedi shit for, the one thing of subverting expectations that Rian Johnson did, Rey being a nobody, was fucking awesome. And the reason I think that is because you have Anakin Skywalker, who comes from a place of great importance. So he was born without a dad, in Legends, arguably because of Darth Plagueis. He ends up having the title of the Chosen One, and then he obviously turns to Darth Vader, whatever. You've got Luke, who is the son of said Chosen One, and is the galaxy's last hope, supposedly. Then you've got Rey, who is a fucking no one from a shithole of a planet with no important lineage, nothing about her existence is interesting, and yet she turns into someone that saves the fucking galaxy. I think that's really, really good. And then they made the Palpatine, which ruined it. I was like, well done, dickheads.
Well, I think
the main compelling thing of Rey as a character was then gone.
Yeah. I think it would have been cool if she remained a nobody too. I really do. I think her being a Palpatine plays further into George Lucas's concept of this being a story of a family and their children and their grandchildren, which is what he always said. So I think that they had that in mind as well when they brought in a Palpatine grandchild as well as a Skywalker grandchild, to keep those family ties, which I do understand why they did that. And then also I think cherry picking from Legends with Palpatine's return, because that's straight out of Dark Empire. And if you reread the Dark Empire comics, you can see the inspiration. It's like, it's so apparent, it's so obvious how they've literally pulled straight from those comics. So when people say about Legends being better because, and then they use the example of like Palpatine's return being stupid in Rise, I'm like, bro, I can tell that you don't know ball because you haven't read those Dark Empire comics.
But also you can flip it, and I think I said this on the last episode, when people say, oh, Palpatine came back in Legends, just because it happened in Legends doesn't make it good.
No, it doesn't.
That's not how... I think, again, I know it's just my full bias as the fact that I don't like Palpatine as a character that much. And I think a lot of it, I think Ian McDiarmid in those films is awesome, but he's simultaneously the reason why I'm not that attached to Palpatine, because I love him, especially in episode 3, where he's clearly having the best time of his life. But I also think this is probably more to do with George Lucas's directing than it is with Ian. He's so cartoonishly evil that I can't take him seriously. And I think in the movies on his own, he's not compelling. He's not an interesting character. He's darker in Return of the Jedi, I think, which is probably why I'm okay with him there. But in Revenge of the Sith, when he's doing all his... I think the scene where he knights Anakin as Darth Vader is really unintentionally funny, because he sounds like the Emperor, but it sounds like he swallowed a microphone. Like, he just sounds really ridiculous, and it's so cartoonishly... And I get why, because it's Palpatine basically just being like, fuck all of you, I can be myself now.
Yeah,
but I think compared to other villains, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like his buried persona is finally coming from his gut, able to manifest itself, you know?
But on the plus side, I like Palpatine more than General Grievous, because hot take, Grievous is not a good villain at all. He's not a good villain.
What about in the Clone Wars?
No, don't get me wrong, if we look at the Tarkovsky Clone Wars, yeah, he's cool, he's intimidating, and he's got cool action. What has he got beyond that? Not much. And then in the Dave Filoni Clone Wars, but in the Filoni Clone Wars, he's then just a bitch. He's an absolute... And I think with characters, and why I don't think General Grievous works, aura farming, as much as I hate that fucking term, can only get you so far. Like, think about if this is a hot take. If the only Star Wars movie we ever got was A New Hope, I don't think Darth Vader would be considered a great villain. Because in A New Hope, he's just a tall guy in a black costume. It's only because of 5 and 6 that he is a compelling character. It's everything after A New Hope. If you strip away Empire and Jedi and the prequels, all Darth Vader is a typical bad guy. He's just the antagonist, and that's it. And that's how I view General Grievous. He's just sort of fucking there. Like, well, he looks cool, and he can kill Jedi, and he's got cool action. So what? It means nothing in the long run, I think.
Well, I guess, but I mean, the layers was beginning to be stacked on Vader from the moment the movie was released, because once those comics started coming out, I'm reading through that comic series right now, and they're already starting to build Vader's aura, and then obviously by the time The Empire Strikes Back came out, it's just like he becomes cinema's greatest villain.
Exactly. I'm not against
in that film.
I'm not against things being what people call the rule of cool, because I think for a lot of things that works. Like Starkiller, I think is just the rule of cool. But obviously the difference is with Starkiller, 2 different mediums. One is a video game that you play, the other is a movie that you watch and, in my case, analyse, which obviously you can do with games as well, if they've got a story and things like that. But I don't think in that... Again, I'm not saying Vader is a bad character in Episode 4, because he's not. It is him in his simplest form, and had it stayed that way, I don't think he would be remembered as much as he is now, or I don't think he would be as compelling as he is without 5, and I think especially 6.
Well, I mean, I guess if you look at that original story as a whole, so 4, 5, 6, I guess watching A New Hope and judging Vader's character just in that movie would be like, for any like regular movie with a beginning, middle, and end in one movie, would just be like watching the first third of the film and then judging the character of that, because the whole story is 4, 5, and 6, isn't it? So, but I see what you're saying. I mean, all of Vader's legacy stuff really comes from the other 2 films in that trilogy.
Exactly, and it's going back to what I said about General. I've completely forgot why I even started talking about Darth Vader. General Grievous. He's just... It's like when... what was the Tales thing that came out where General Grievous was in it? Is it Tales of the
Tales of
Empire?
the Empire. Yeah.
Everyone was ranting about that scene with the Night Sisters, and yeah, it's a cool scene, but it's with a character who's just not interesting. He's got a cool design, he's got a badass voice, and he's got 4 lightsabers. But I think that goes for so many characters. Like, for example, Darth Maul. Darth Maul, without any other material, he's not that good. He's got a cool design, he's got a badass fight scene and music, and he's got a double blade lightsaber. But it's the Clone Wars that gave him the depth that he, even in the Plagueis novel, Darth Maul obviously isn't the focus of that, so it's fine. But to keep in line with that continuity, he is just a one-note assassin character. It's the Clone Wars that gave him the depth that he has.
Yeah, and I think Sam Witwer's performance adds so much to it. I think in The Phantom Menace, his mystique is everything to that character. It's the wonder around who he is, where he came from, why does he look like that? You know, how is he Palpatine's apprentice? Like, it's all the questions that you have, which I guess is going to segue me into mentioning about the plot hole thing again, because people nowadays call that a plot hole. Unanswered questions, plot hole. It's not a plot hole. That's just fundamentally not what a plot hole is it? I mean, a gap in continuity and a question that you have about something that's not answered is not a plot hole. But I guess
I'm going to go on a limb and say it's a plot hole until it gets an answer. Even if you don't like the answer that's given, it's a plot hole till it is fixed over. Obviously, there's some
disagree more, man.
There's some areas. There's some areas where, even if it's not answered, no, that's not a plot hole. Maybe it's not relevant to the story. It just doesn't matter. But I think for some instances, it's like, wait a minute. How? That makes no fucking sense whatsoever. I think there is plot holes, and then there is... I think gaps and plot holes are two different things.
They are, yeah, completely. A plot hole is when something directly causes a rift in the continuity, something that contradicts completely with a definitive conclusion. It has caused a problem with continuity. In 1977, when Obi-Wan tells Luke about the Clone Wars briefly, we didn't find out about the Clone Wars or what the Clone Wars was for another 30 years, 20 years, 30 years. It still wasn't a plot hole. It was just a gap. It was a question that people had for all those years. What is the Clone Wars? Do you know what I mean?
But I think that's a bad example of something that would get called a plot hole.
So
in the sense that with the whole thing of the Clone Wars, I class that not as a plot hole. That's just world building, and I think one of the best things about that original film, and I think one of the reasons it resonated with audiences as well as it did, you are dropped into the middle of this galaxy, and there has already been... I think that line about the Clone Wars establishes that this galaxy has been around for a lot longer than people might think on their first watch.
Yeah.
And it adds more layers to Obi-Wan. It's like, oh, this guy is technically like a war veteran. So what happens to all the... I think having unanswered questions and setup for stuff is fine, but I wouldn't use that as an example of people calling a plot hole out, because it just doesn't register as one.
When I mentioned about the mystique in Maul and all the questions that Phantom Menace leaves us with about Darth Maul, you'd said it would be a plot hole until it's answered, but in that case, Darth Maul's entire backstory would have been a plot hole until the Clone Wars came out, or until Maul appeared in the Clone Wars. Do you know what I mean?
True.
Like, I don't feel like a gap in the continuity is ever a plot hole under any circumstances. It might be if it's not answered, and it's not answered in good time. I feel like it might be a waste. That might be a better word for it, but a plot hole I don't think is the word for it at all. I don't think that defines what a plot hole is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
I 100% hate that people don't realise that people don't accept stuff. Stuff happens off screen. Yes. Yeah, I mean, this comment unintentionally plays into what we was just talking about there. I didn't even click on it for that reason, but yeah, stuff happens off screen, you know?
Yeah, but I do think that obviously the stuff that happens off screen it can fill in the plot holes. But I also don't blame certain Star Wars fans for not. For example, my mum's partner, for example, he's a massive fan of the original trilogy. He saw them all in the cinema. He has all the toys and everything. But there are things that he's like, well, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, yes, it does, because of this, this, and this from other things. I think you can't expect everyone to know about stuff. Because, like, for example, before The Mandalorian Season 2, if you told a casual Star Wars fan that Boba Fett was alive, they'd be like, well, what? No, he's not. He died. He fell in the Sarlacc on Tatooine.
Yeah.
So I think as fans, people, and this is an issue that I see a lot with the Star Wars fandom, not everyone gives a fuck about, like, for example, a lot of people don't give a fuck about the Clone Wars show or Rebels or The Mandalorian. There are people out there who just like 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, and that's fine, but you can't begin to shout your mouth off about things not making sense when in extended canon these things are explained. It's just you don't consume that content, which is fine. But to have such a loud opinion about something not making sense when it has been explained, and by the way, just because something hasn't been explained, that still doesn't mean it doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah.
For an example of something that wouldn't make sense is if Luke, who is 19 in A New Hope, and then he says his age in The Empire Strikes Back and he says he's 28, and it's like, well, 9 years hasn't passed. That's a plot hole. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a good example of what would be a plot hole. But a question is a plot hole.
That is true.
So, final thoughts on what was originally our topic here.
I've just looked at the thing and realised, we were talking about John Boyega. I can see both sides of the argument of people thinking he's appealing to a certain shitty section of the fandom, and maybe he is. But I've also seen a lot of people, like we brought up earlier, say like, oh, he's probably never even played The Old Republic or Force Unleashed or read the books. We don't know that. And is it possible that he's just using these terms as a dog whistle? Very likely, and I do think that is the main intention. But I also don't think we can sit here and say, oh, he doesn't know anything about them. Yeah, his statement was a contradiction as well. But, again, I don't think that's proof that he doesn't know about those things. For all we know, he could have fucking every issue of Tales of the Jedi, every issue of the KOTOR books, both KOTOR, we don't know. And I think that is also unfair, because if you look at him from interviews back from when his sequel films came out, the dude does clearly like Star Wars, so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to have looked into the EU like millions of us also have.
Yeah.
But his comments were also stupid.
He is a Star Wars fan, clearly. I don't think he goes beyond being a casual Star Wars fan, which, as we've said time and time again, like, that's fine if you're a casual Star Wars fan. I don't think he truly believes the things that he's saying, and that's why it contradicts itself. To quote Element 7 on something that he said this past week, I don't think John Boyega knows ball, and I completely agree with that.
It's very possible. It is very possible. Yeah, I'm obviously not discounting that. It's very possible that he's just talking out his ass as well. Either scenario is possible and/or / likely.
Yeah. So, if we're finished on the Boyega topic, maybe we should move on to the...
I think we were finished on the Boyega topic 20 minutes ago.
That's what we do, bro. It's what we do. So, Rev and I would like to cover, finally, the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer. Rev, do we still care about Mando and Grogu?
I would care if this film didn't look like an episode of the TV show. I'd care a lot more if it actually looked like a movie, which I don't think it does. It looks like 4 episodes of the show stapled together. And that's really disappointing because when they initially said that they were doing this, I thought, oh shit, this is going to be the big return to the big screen for Star Wars. It is on their most successful characters that they've brought in since acquiring the IP. This should be all hands on deck, guns firing on all fucking cylinders type of thing. And I just watched the trailer and felt absolutely nothing because it just looks like an episode of the show. And it makes me question, what was the point? If you're going to do a film, make it look like a fucking film and not a... Because one of my issues with the Disney Plus shows as they've gone on wasn't as much of an issue at first because I think they had a bit more ambition. I think the volume has made them lazy, first of all. And I think, aside from Andor, every single live-action Star Wars show in terms of the visual department has gotten worse and worse and worse, which then culminated in, I think, Ahsoka. As much as I like Ahsoka, a lot of aspects of Ahsoka don't look good. Like the fight with Marok on that planet looks absolutely horrendous. It doesn't look like a Disney production. It's like, this is Star Wars, not like, why are you taking the lazy option? And I don't think the volume is inherently lazy. The Batman uses the volume, and you can't tell because it's used in a smart way. And I think if they were going to make this Mandalorian movie and this big return to the silver screen, maybe they should have got better cinematographers or used better sets or something. And it's such a shame because I was excited for this, but there's other reasons aside from visuals why I'm not excited, but we'll get into that after you've given your take, because you're on the opposite side of the spectrum.
Not as much as I thought I was going to be. I found myself agreeing with a lot that you were saying there, and I expected to be internally shaking my head while you was talking, but I actually agreed with a lot that you said, specifically about the volume. Let me start my take here by asking myself some questions, then answering them like a dickhead. Did I enjoy the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer? Yeah, I did, because it looks to me like more Mando, which is what I want. I like the Mandalorian. It's a good show, man. I think many of us like the Mandalorian as a TV show, and this to me looks like more of that, which I think is what they're going for, and I think that's great. Now, the problem there lies, did I particularly enjoy The Mandalorian Season 3? The answer to that question is no. It was, it was by far the weakest season of the show. Now, although the film looks like more Mando, it specifically looks more like more Mando Season 3.
Agreed, completely agree. Like, even the shot where they're sat at the table with Sigourney Weaver, I'm watching it, I'm like, this looks so boring and uncreative. You know what it looks like? It looks like a fucking advert. It doesn't look like a movie. And I saw someone did an edit on Twitter, which I wish I gave to you to put into the show. Someone did an edit on Twitter where they had sort of edited and tweaked the shot of Sigourney Weaver sat at the table, and they'd messed with the lighting and stuff like that, and it looked better. It's like a little bit more effort goes such a fucking long way. And I'm not saying the movie hasn't had effort put into it, because this is the thing. Whenever I defend the sequels, because I always say no Star Wars movies below a 4 out of 10, I will always give props to people in the costume department, the lighting department, everyone, because it is such a fucking monumental task for any person who works on a film. But with this, it's like, I'm sure you all did, you genuinely all tried as hard as you could, but a little bit more effort maybe, because it doesn't look like, it looks like a commercial, as they'd say in America, not a fully massive budget movie.
I can agree with you with those like inside shots of that New Republic base. I can't remember what the name of it is, where we see Sigourney Weaver.
I can't either.
Like it's lit the same as Season 3, and it just has that clean look to it. However, there was some grand wide shots in that trailer as well that I thought was very impressive, and I thought looked like a Star Wars film to me. specifically the shots of the Razor Crest and of the Walker falling off the mountain.
I agree with the Walker stuff.
Yeah, we don't get a whole lot of big, grand, wide shots in the shows, or at least relative to the movies. Like, we get a lot more of that in the films. But it looks like they're making an effort to give us those shots in this trailer, at least. And obviously, we've only seen, like, what was it, a 90-second teaser? And we, as Star Wars fans, doing what we do and dissecting every second of it.
Well, yeah, because it's what we do best.
Yeah, it is. We wouldn't be Star Wars fans if we didn't do that, you know? They gave us 90 seconds of it. We're going to take our 90 seconds with it, and we're going to dissect every fucking bit of it.
Oh, the trailer for the Kotor remake is 57 seconds, and I've analysed every frame. It's fine. It's what we do.
Speaking of analysing frames, should we watch the trailer right now together?
We can do, yeah. Although will it get the thing taken down?
I mean, people react to things all the time, don't they? Trailers and stuff. Would they really
true.
kick us off? Should we chance it? Should we try this?
We can. Yeah, because this is going to lead into... It's going to be like the $1,000 Death Star rant again.
Yeah. Well, let's
pull it up. I'll lean closer, because in fact, there's the old specs, so I can actually see the screen.
Right.
Well, I can actually see our layout and stuff. It's a miracle. That's the first time I've been able to read what's on screen.
That'll be this one. Right, okay. Let's do it. Where is the trailer? There it is. I can imagine that they dimmed the lighting or something in that edit that you saw for this scene.
They dimmed the lighting and they edited it so it looked like some sun was coming through the windows and stuff.
Right.
And it enhanced it so much. Whereas so much of this just looks kind of fun. I think it looks dull from a shot perspective. The lighting is flat. It's not good.
These look like hut droids, man. You dive into, potential story. It looks like he's going up against the hut.
So I'm okay with the colour palette on this snowy Walker section, because I feel like it's supposed to look grey and a little bit boring. Whereas this is the thing. With so much of Star Wars, I feel like you can... So, for example, I'll use just any of the Star Wars movies as an example. There is always an array of colours and saturation and stuff like that. Like, when I think of Star Wars, like, let's look at, for example, when Luke's looking at the twin suns in Episode 4.
Yeah.
You've got shades of blue, purple, obviously orange, and that's all in one fucking shot. It really feels like in almost every shot of that trailer, the main colour is grey. And that it looks like, do you remember back when I don't know how much you're into Marvel and stuff, the main thing that people used to pick Marvel apart for in regards to colour was the airport in Civil War. That is literally what most of that trailer looks like. It looks like the airport in Captain America Civil War, and that's not a good thing.
No, I get that, yeah. It's like sort of real world colour grading. It's like when you pop out to the shop, the colours that you see. It's not really what you want to see on the big screen, is it? But, I mean, I would like to talk a little bit, though, if we could, about potential story arcs in the movie and what we expect from it story-wise, rather than how it looks and criticizing the feel of it. Let's, if we can.
In terms of story arcs and stuff, there will be zero. Din's not going to evolve as a character. Grogu's not going to evolve as a... In fact, I nearly did a whole video on this ages ago. The Mandalorian himself has steadily got more boring. And the show, I think one of the reasons the show itself got boring for a lot of people, and the movie is what really cemented this for me when we got leaks of it. This show and this character has no consequences whatsoever. So the Razor Crest gets blown up. It's okay, he's got a new one. He loses his badass Mandalorian rifle. It's okay, he's got a fucking new one now, despite the fact that they're meant to be quite rare. He loses his Beskar spear. We literally see loads of people training with them in season 3. He loses Grogu. He gets him back 2 days later. It's fine. Fucking nothing of... Oh, he gets kicked out of his stupid little cult, which was such a good idea for a story of season 3. Nah, he got into a fucking manky-ass hot tub, and now he's fine. He's back in the cult again. But he has no consequence. There's no development. There's no... And maybe this could have been fixed if we had a whole season without Grogu. But even then, he would have got him back eventually because Disney likes merchandise money.
Well,
he's such a boring character.
They had a perfect opportunity to really give him his story arc when Grogu left with Luke, and they should have really lent into that. That should have been time. We should still be living in a world, I believe, where Grogu and Din are separate from one another. I think that everything that happened in season 3 should have happened separately from Grogu, while Din is dealing with a life away from him. If they're going to put them back together, this should really have happened on the big screen. I think it was a corporate decision to put them straight back together. It was. And for it to happen in a show that wasn't The Mandalorian, I always thought that was stupid. I like the Book of Boba Fett, which is why even more so I wanted all 7 episodes, I think it was, to focus on Boba Fett. I love Boba Fett's arc in that show, and I would have liked to have seen 2 extra episodes on that stuff rather than focusing on Grogu returning to Mando.
I'll hold my tongue until we do it. Until we do a Book of Boba Fett episode, I'm gonna hold my tongue on my thoughts on that show because I've got so much to say.
I feel like the Luke episode is beautiful, and it could have happened in a different show at a different time. It could have been the
opening scene to Ahsoka. You could have opened Ahsoka with that.
If it involved Ahsoka more, you could have done, because that would have established that Grogu is in his training with Luke without focusing on Grogu too much. But
I remember this was
built around Ahsoka.
Back when The Mandalorian premiered, back when it first came out, and we were getting the episodes week by week, I distinctly remember, I can't remember who wrote this article, I don't know what website it's on, and I think it was when they got to episode 5 as the weekly rollout was happening. The headline was something like, The Mandalorian is a boring TV show about a walking action figure. And at this point, I could not fucking agree more. That is what it's turned into. The Mandalorian is not a character at this point. He's just sort of... He's... It's kind of like Master Chief in Halo. He exists as a vessel for the player to control. That's what Din Djarin is. He's a vessel for the viewer to watch as the plot carries him forward. He himself is nothing.
I think
not a character.
If that's true, I think that only started when Grogu returned to him. So in the finale of the Book of Boba Fett is when that started to happen to that character. Because I think like there is growth and development in season 1 and 2 of Mando. You know, his relationship with droids, his relationship with Grogu himself, you know. I feel like there is development, but I feel like that one dimension really took over the character in season 3, which is not something new that I'm saying. I mean, season 3 has always been a problem for me. It was a problem when it was airing, and it's never really... I've rewatched it recently, you know, and it doesn't feel... I rewatched it straight from season 1 and 2, you know, to try and get like a flow, and it breaks that flow. and I don't know what it is. I can't exactly put my finger on what it is, and I'm thinking it's just because they shouldn't be back together. That story shouldn't be told yet. It's too soon. There's no consequences for Grogu leaving with Luke at the end of season 2 anymore. So you watch that, and then the next time you see him, within an episode or two, they're back together, and it just doesn't.
And I think the same issue is with him. Him taking his helmet off and being kicked out of his cult, because that's what it is. It's a cult. That should have really been the moment where Favreau and Filoni sat down for a long time and said, right, what are we doing with this character now? Focus solely on him. Where are we taking this character? Oh, never mind. He's fallen over in a bathtub like a dickhead, and now he's completely fine again. He can go back to the... And that's another thing about no consequences. Mandalore's meant to be inhospitable now. You can't go to the living waters. Never mind. They just never bothered to fucking check it. God. Again, most of these issues start with season 3, and most of my issues with Mando as a character start with season 3. But also this movie has started a couple, because it's just... He's just nothing. He's got no real personality. And it really felt like that in Series 3, where I know a lot of people really like the little speech he gives to Bo-Katan, but it's like he's meant to be the main character. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, no, Mando's not meant to be the main character. It's, the Mandalorian isn't just specifically about Din Djarin. Well, it is. That is what that show is meant to... It started as that. He's literally called Mando. Like, he is the main character. He just sort of gets pushed aside for most of season 3, which I suppose is karma after he took all the spotlight in the Book of Boba Fett. But I'm watching The Mandalorian now. I want to focus on the fucking title character.
I'm just thinking now, what would have been if Grogu and Mando must be put back together, like the corporate decision of them being together for whatever reason, if it must happen, a much more interesting point in time to pick this story up. Think Guardians of the Galaxy 2, when we see an adolescent Groot, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if because at the end of season 3, they get their little house and they settle down and stuff like that. So it would only make sense for a few years to pass before we see them again. So what if the next time we see them, Grogu is in this teenager portion of his life?
Oh, I love that. I love nothing more. But instead, Grogu... Just think of this for a minute. Grogu's only real development as a being in this show is that he can shoot some fucking Nerf darts out of a thing on his wrist. That is the only valuable thing about him that has changed. And also, speaking of him shooting the darts, so one of my friends texted me this after he watched the trailer. Why are they trying to push Babu Frick's species so hard with The Mandalorian? Why is it there?
It's a case of getting us down on Grogu's level, I think, is the intention with that, and showing us him from a perspective of not being the little creature on the screen. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what they're trying to do.
Possibly.
With that. So all the time that we spend with those characters, we're going to be down and with them, with those at their scale. Do you know what I mean? I think the aspect of the Hutts will be interesting to explore. We've only really seen that in comics and books, and recently we saw it in Outlaws, the video game. I think that'll be cool to see. We know that the twins are back by the look on the trailer from the Book of Boba Fett. And supposedly Rotter the Hutt as well as either a gladiator or... I think it looks to me...
I'm so curious to see how that's going to play out, because he's played by fucking Jeremy Allen White as well. Yeah. I'm so curious to see how they do that.
See, I don't think he's going to be a gladiator, though. I think he's going to be the Hutt that runs the fight ring. I think when we see him like in the pit, I think he's like announcing the fights.
Possibly, that could be true. Oh, definitely. Little cute Stinky from the Clone Wars movie is no more. And I don't think he's been that for a long time.
He might be the big boss in the cartel now that Jabba's dead.
Possibly. Maybe he was the next one up.
He's probably the heir, yeah. So that'll be very interesting. What does a Hutt cartel look like under Rotter the Hutt's rule? That to
Might
me
be
is
fun.
interesting stuff. Those big droids look interesting to me. I love Rebels, so seeing Zeb, that's interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Seeing him in Mando season 3 was fun.
Yeah, I'm more interested in seeing him in Ahsoka season 2 with the Ghost crew. That would be fun.
Hopefully.
Interesting to see what his place is in this story, to be fair.
He'll probably just be there to say, hey, Mando, I know you lost your Razor Crest and it was quite a sad moment for you. Here's a new one. Just halfway and have it. Because you're not allowed to have anything bad happen to you for longer than 5 seconds.
That is a problem.
This is the thing as well. I'm going to point out some hypocrisy with Star Wars fans real quick. I really find it funny how people said to, like, Rey has no consequences and no fucking bullshit happened to her, yet they will then sit there and glaze the fuck out of the Mandalorian as if he has ever had anything bad happen for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, he does get the shit kicked out of him a lot, to be fair. But I know what you're saying.
He's wearing like 50 Kevlar vests around his head as well. And I think obviously it's Beskar, so you can do nothing to him. I get that. But it's just, I never feel like there's like, for example, Mando season 3. I didn't feel any stakes when watching that. I didn't feel like, oh shit, what's going to happen? That's mainly because Moff Gideon is Moff Gideon. Mm-hmm. Which I swear to God, if he's in this movie, I will piss myself laughing.
He will be in the movie.
Yeah, but it's going to be the same as what if the whole movie goes by and he shows up in the last 20 minutes and gets his ass kicked like every single season of the fucking show?
I don't think that there's... True, that does happen in all 3 seasons. That happens, doesn't it?
I always say the whole dynamic between Mando and Moff Gideon, it's the Star Wars equivalent of Wile E. Coyote in the fucking Roadrunner. It's the same thing every single season. I am for him.
Well, I think even though the character's supposed to be dead, for them to go 3 seasons of a show and then take it to the big screen and not bring with them their best actor, which I think is...
That's the thing as well. I fucking love... When it was announced that he was cast and he was going to be a villain, I was like, oh my God, they've got Gus in Star Wars. This is going to... And in season 1, he is pretty badass. Yeah, he gets his TIE fighter blown up and it's like, oh, that's a bit shit. They flip that because then, he crashed the TIE fighter, but he's also got the fucking Darksaber. So, and then in season 2, cool fight scene, but then gets his ass kicked in the finale. Season 3, absolute joke. Absolute joke.
My clones. Do you remember that line?
And he's got his fucking stupid Mandalorian helmet.
Oh, that scene never fails to make me laugh, though, because, like, it is delivered. Like I said, probably the series' best actor, and they went with that.
Easily.
But they went with that delivery of that line. My clones.
Oh.
What was they thinking? I don't know.
He's not a good villain. And it's such a shame, because, again, I agree with you. He's the best actor in the show. And he's just so underutilized, and he plays such a boring joke of a character, I think, that what's the point? Just let him keep him dead. It would be funnier if they kept him dead at this point.
I don't know why they put him in a suit of Mandalorian armor. That was, to me, so out of character. It was just out of character why they did that. But it just runs with the pattern of season 3. Like, everything was off in that season. I don't know where... I mean, the Jack Black episode, bro. What the fuck was that?
The worst episode of live action Star Wars television is, it's not episode 3 of The Acolyte, it's not episode 7 of The Acolyte, it's that fucking episode of The Mandalorian.
I love Jack Black, but I don't want him in Star Wars. I don't want anyone in Star Wars that when they pop up you go, Oh, Jack Black.
That's the thing. It's not Jack Black playing a character, and it's not fucking Lizzo playing a character. It's Lizzo and Jack Black being Lizzo and Jack Black.
In Star
They're
Wars.
not playing characters.
No. No, Lizzo got to cuddle Grogu because that's what she would have wanted to do on set.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just
Bullshit.
everything about that season just pisses me off the more I think about it.
But then, on the flip side, in that episode, you have another guest star who does a really good job, because Christopher Lloyd, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome for what little he does.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. I've made this point before in saying that episode in season 3 is both my least favourite and one of my favourite episodes in the season, because that arc with the droids and with Christopher Lloyd, all that stuff is great. It's like a buddy cop episode with Mando and Bo, and I like that. And I like seeing the droids, and I love Christopher Lloyd. And then everything that happens with Lizzo and Jack Black, I hate it. So it's kind of weird. It's like a 50-50. But overall, that season is my least favourite Star Wars show that they've done so far.
And then there's also the episode with Dr. Pershing, which is just, that is them desperately trying to do their own version of Andor and failing to do their own version of Andor.
I saw someone call it Mandor.
In the overall, that's quite funny. But in the overall plot, why was that there? It doesn't need to be there. Who fucking cares about Dr. Pershing? Genuinely, well, he's probably dead now, so there's not much you can do with him. But just season 3 overall just felt, to me, it felt like Disney said, you do realise you've got to do a season 3, and they were like, we don't really know what we want to do for season 3 yet. Well, okay, just do it anyway.
Well, season 1 was so grounded and concise, and then season 2 was like, right, these characters are going to expand into the greater galaxy of Star Wars, and they started pulling in elements of the greater galaxy. And then season 3 is just like, I don't know.
That's
it's like they just shrugged their shoulders. And
a lot of the fan service in season 2 is a double-edged sword. Yeah, I loved seeing Luke Skywalker do cool shit. I adored Book of Boba Fett smacking the shit out of some stormtroopers. But I'll admit, one of the best things about season 1, and one of the reasons season 1 worked, is because it was totally separate. And now you've got the whole Mandoverse thing. That's not what it's supposed to be.
No, it's not. I agree with that. I don't like when the people call it the Mandoverse, because I feel like the Mandalorian himself is such a small character in terms of that whole story of like Thrawn's return. Like, Mando should have nothing to do with Thrawn's return.
It's alright. It's all going to build up to the Heir to the Empire movie, which is going to be nothing like the Heir to the Empire book. It's not the first time Dave Filoni has taken the name of a Legends thing and completely fucking changed it. The Tales of the fucking Jedi. I already was someone who, not a Filoni hater, but before Tales of the Jedi, I was like, yeah, he's a bit overrated. And then once that show got announced, I was like, are you joking? Are you fucking kidding me?
Again, though, I think that is literally only a problem because it's called Tales of the Jedi. If it's
called Tales of the Jedi, and it has the same logo. And the thing is, as well, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong here, when it was initially announced, they didn't outright say it was a show set in the prequels at first. That came a couple months later. So at first, I was like, holy shit, are we about to get the Old Republic?
It was announced with the poster, with the characters that was included. I remember seeing like a leak. But I mean, I've said this to you before about like, Mando and Luke episode being in the Book of Boba Fett is only really a problem because the show's called the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, it's a similar problem with Tales of the Jedi in that it's called the same thing as a Legends story, and it's not that Legends story, so it becomes an issue. Do you know what I mean? If it was called something else,
they really did miss the trick, because you had people saying they wanted the Old Republic. Your Knights of the Old Republic remake was having a few issues. All you would have had to do was use these as a starting point for your animated series, or to introduce the Old Republic era into canon properly, and so many people would have forgiven you for Book of Boba Fett and fucking Mando Season 3. You would have been in the good graces of so many people. But instead, you went back to the fucking prequel era again.
But I don't think that's a good reason to make anything, though. To be in the good graces of a certain type of Star Wars fan, I don't think is a good reason to create. I think a good reason to create is when you have the story already and then you make it happen. It's not, we want to do a story in this era or with this character, and then you come up with it after. I think the idea has to come first. And Filoni clearly had stories he wanted to tell with Dooku and with Ahsoka, so he made that happen. Him calling the show Tales of the Jedi, I think, created a problem that wasn't there. Do you know what I mean?
You should have just called it something else, and should have just.
He would have avoided
anything.
Yeah, he would have avoided a lot of trouble if he'd have called it something else.
But then we're seeing it again with his Heir to the Empire movie, and it's just it's kind of like, again, what the MCU does, where you're taking a storyline or the name of a character, but you're doing it in name only. You're not doing it to adapt the story, and I fucking hate when things do that. Do not use that name or logo or whatever if you're not going to adapt. It's pointless. And all you're going to do is, because anyone who isn't a fan of the Legends material and hasn't read, so I haven't read Heir to the Empire, but there's going to be people who aren't aware of the book, and they're obviously going to be excited, which is fine. But then all you've done is then made another side of the fan base better by just using that name. Just call it something else. Come up with something. Is it really that hard to name your fucking movie or your TV show something different?
As I say, you avoid confusion, you avoid problems by doing that.
That's another thing as well.
Hard thing to do.
Believe me, a little bit of me dies inside every time I need something Tales of the Jedi related, and I Google Tales of the Jedi, and it comes up with Tales of the Jedi animated show. No, it's not. No.
Well, that's just because you love that comic series so much that you want Tales of the Jedi to be that and only that, and I understand that, you know. I do understand that.
It's just, I will never understand the logic of taking the name of something and then completely fucking changing it to be something literally unrecognizable. It's Tales of the Jedi in name only. It's got nothing else to do. And the thing is as well, I know a lot of people will also think, well, if they did do a cartoon off the comics, they would inevitably change so much stuff that I'd probably end up disliking it, which is true. But just fucking get creative. Do something.
They never did intend, or they still don't intend in adapting those stories. It's the name that makes your brain go there. Do you know what I mean? Like it was never supposed to be that.
I just think it's more bullshit. It's more blue balling of that fan base. And I think, don't get me wrong, I do like whenever something from Legends is canonized, but it also kind of annoys me how you got rid of all that stuff and then you cherry pick bits of it to maybe appease people. It's like, I see what you're trying to do, but also, like, come on. Like the little things I don't mind, but I think if you're going to make something, do not, like, for example, imagine if they made a Darth Bane movie, or they made a movie called Path of Destruction that has nothing to do with that story. It's ridiculous, and again, just adds to confusion.
Yeah. It does. They should just stick with original titles, and also probably try and avoid using character names in their titles, because then you avoid the issue of certain episodes concentrating on a character that isn't that character. I mean, I don't know what you'd call the Book of Boba Fett instead of that, but if it wasn't called,
even that was a slightly weird name. Even that was a weird name.
Yeah, it was. It was, to be fair. I always thought, like, what book? Like,
I'm not saying this is the case, I do not know if this is the case. I do not know if this is true, but this is my theory. I don't think Dave Filoni has read the comics, the Tales of the Jedi books. I think he took a glance at them and thought, this looks like an anthology series, so I'm going to make an anthology TV show with the same name, without realising it's not an anthology series, it's one continuous story for the most part. Maybe that's what happened, I don't know. But then we've got the Heir to the Empire film, which, what's the excuse for that other than blatant appeal to fanboyism? Because that's what it feels like for me. It's like, look, it's a thing with the name on that you love. Yeah, but it's not the thing that I love.
Do you know what we've done again?
It's completely gone off track.
Spiraled wildly off topic. I'm going to bring us back around with our final topic, because I've got about 20 minutes to go before I have to get out of here. But I think that gives us just enough time to talk about our final topic, which is upcoming projects. So, my question to you, my friend, is if you were to pick one upcoming project that you're most looking forward to, which is it and why?
I mean, let's be honest, is this a question that even needs asking in my case? I think everyone knows what I'm most excited for. It's obviously Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah. It's literally nothing. It's probably the only project at the minute where I'm I have a passion and excitement for. Everything else I'm like, Ahsoka Season 2, awesome, I'll watch it, can't wait. Knights of the Old Republic remake is going to be like a fucking event. I'll literally hype that shit up so much. And going more on the gaming side, because it's obviously going to happen, the final Cal Kestis game, I can't wait for that either, because I thought Survivor was awesome, really liked Fallen Order. If they stick the landing, which I think they will, cool. In terms of projects I'm excited, it really is mainly, like, genuinely excitement and passion for projects. It's obviously KOTOR is number one, followed by the third Cal Kestis game, and I don't know, man. Like, I genuinely don't know, which is quite sad, to be fair. I think those are the only two. I'll watch Ahsoka Season 2. I'm excited to get more details and the trailer for it and stuff like that. Mando movie, I'll see it, but I didn't really feel anything while watching the trailer other than this looks really boring. So, who knows? What about you?
Well, for me, there's a tie for two shows, and I can't pick one of them that I'm looking forward to the most. It's Ahsoka Season 2 and Maul Shadow Lord.
Thanks for bringing that up. Maul Shadow Lord, can't fucking wait for that either. I'm really excited for that.
We'll go down that avenue first then. Maul Shadow Lord to me is wildly interesting because we're finally getting a villain Sith-focused story. Darth Maul,
yes, we are.
The main character, is unlike anything they've ever done before. Now, will that character translate well as a main character? Remains to be seen, but I have every faith in Sam Witwer.
I think he will. However, obviously there's more of a case for this, but I will admit, as much as I defend the Acolyte was billed as a Sith-led story, and I don't quite think execution-wise that's what we got. It kind of was, but it also kind of wasn't. It was a very mixed bag in terms of what we promised and what we got. With Maul, it's obviously different because he's the fucking title character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. The Acolyte wasn't really the Sith show that people thought that it was getting. I still fucking love that show, but it became very much its own thing and more of a tale of, again, family ties and stuff like that, didn't it? And
I think the Acolyte became a Sith-led show in the last 3 episodes, and I think that's a massive shame.
Yeah, you would like to focus more on the Sith throughout.
I wish Kaimir was the main character. Yeah. I really do.
I mean, not to spiral off topic again, but I love that show. As much as I love any show that they've made. As much controversy as that might bring to my TikTok channel.
We've been through it already. It's fine.
I love the main characters of that show as they are. I also love the stranger though, so I see what you're saying. A story focusing on that character would have been very interesting. I feel like we're gonna see what that feels like with Maul Shadowlord, because we've not seen. I mean, Maul, I think, was in not as many episodes of the Clone Wars as you would think that he was.
No, he wasn't, and I think Sam Witwer has said it himself. The reason people think he's in it more than he is because it was a big deal every time he was in it. But Maul doesn't get introduced until like season. Overall, yeah, and Maul himself doesn't get introduced until what, the end of series 4?
Yeah,
something like that. So it takes a while to get around to him. But and that's also conveniently, if I ever were to rewatch the Clone Wars, that's conveniently where I would start as well, as opposed to everything that came before it. But
there's some good stuff before Maul's appearance, but it really stepped up, didn't it? When Maul came into it, that was like went to the next level.
Visually as well, because I remember them saying when they did bring Darth Maul back, they did upgrade the animation to make his face more expressive. So
they didn't want to do Maul until they felt like they could justify him with the animation.
Yeah, which I'm glad they did.
Which with Shadow Lord, it looks like the animation is slightly more gritty, don't you think? From the stills that we've seen and the leaked trailer, I'm sure you've seen as well.
Yeah,
it looks like Clone Wars, but it looks slightly different to me. It doesn't look as cartoony as the Clone Wars did.
I will say my concern with Shadow, going back to what I was just moaning about, if that is Darth Talon, really, just make a new character. It will be Darth Talon in name only. And I know people will throw out the excuse. I know people will say, but George Lucas was going to use Darth Talon. Well, guess what? I don't care what George Lucas was going to do, because it didn't happen, first of all. And just because George Lucas was going to do it doesn't mean it's a good idea. It's just another one of those things where you're taking something and you're not even that potentially, you're changing it that much that why are you even bothering? Aside from getting people to go, oh my God, it's Darth Talon, look. It doesn't work.
I think it's fine. I think it works fine to cherry pick from Legends. I think like that's the purpose that Legends serves now. I think if you've got a character like Darth Talon who's so good in the Legacy comics, obviously she's going to exist now in a completely different point in the timeline. But I still think it's interesting to get to know that character, or this version of that character, because like you say, she is going to be different, and she's not going to be exactly the character that we know from the Legacy comics. But I still think it's interesting. I think that in using that character, you not provide, but what's the way that I'm trying to explain this? There's Legends backstory already there to attach you to this character, so you're not just introducing someone that you've never seen before, which most of the time that's what I would like. That's what I think that you should do. But I mean, like you said, George was going to do this himself. I'm not sure how George was going to fit that into the timeline and everything.
It was going to be that in his sequel trilogy, it would have been after Return of the Jedi, and Maul would have been the main villain and Darth Talon would have been the apprentice. Yeah. Which would have been slightly more in line with the original story, but only by a teeny tiny bit.
But I guess my point is it doesn't need to line up with that original story, because that story is Legends. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, but it's kind of like, though, imagine if the main character of the Acolyte was Ulic Keldroma. It wouldn't work. It would be really random, and they would be Ulic Keldroma in name only, not in terms of actual character. And anytime they do this, it always just feels like they want people to... when I say this, I'm not attacking people that haven't read Legends. If you don't like Legends, that's fine. But anytime they do this, it feels like they're deliberately appealing to people who will cheer at a Legends character, even though they don't know who it is. It's like if Revan randomly appeared in something, people are going to cheer regardless of what the fucking context is, even if it doesn't work.
I think that happened recently with the Lego special, to be fair.
God, that was hilarious. Anyone bitching about that can fuck off. That was fun.
Yeah.
My only gripe with that is that I wish when they did the final battle with Solitus, I just wish he was there. I think it's
Yeah,
annoying that every character in the show is at this final battle and he got chucked into a black hole like a bum. Like, come on.
I mean, just to finish up on the Shadow Lord stuff here and Talon being in it. I like that it's Talon, I really do. I mean, I enjoyed reading that character, so it'll be nice to see how they portray her in a canon timeline, you know, in a show. I don't mind them cherry picking. I think we differ in opinion there with them using legends and how they use legends. But I kind of like that they do that, man.
But I think, and again, I could be wrong here and they could somehow do it justice. I just have a feeling that she's going to be Darth Talon in name only, and that's it. She will slightly look like the character, but she won't act anything like her. She won't be anything like her. And to that, it always makes me say, why not just give her a different name then? And this goes to any, like Moon Knight, for example. You can like the Moon Knight show as much as you want. That's not Moon Knight. It's not Moon. It fundamentally misses the point. I don't know if you've read the comics, but they get so much wrong. But anyway, this is a Star Wars podcast. I just think
we can find common ground. We can find common ground on Talon in saying that. I think we both probably hope she's as faithful to her Legends version as possible.
Yeah.
We hope that she at least acts like the character does in the comics.
Obviously, design-wise, she'll have the tattoos, but let's be honest, she's not going to be wearing what she did in those comics. She's not going to be doing the same at all. We already know.
Like a younger Talon. It looks like she's younger in the show. I mean, I'm interested, man. I'm interested. On the subject of Ahsoka Season 2, I mean, I think there's a lot to look forward to in Ahsoka Season 2. I think mainly the Bail and stuff and the Gods of Mortis, potentially Abeloth as well.
The Gods of Mortis, that's another thing. Abeloth's in a random fuck-ass story that's not... Anyway, I've never been the biggest fan of the Mortis stuff. I just think it's a bit too weird. Like, I don't mind when Star Wars gets a bit weird and fantasy-esque. The Mortis Gods I always thought was a little bit too far. But, with Balin, I am both very nervous but very excited because I think they have picked someone who was best friends with Ray Stevenson in real life. Mm-hmm. I've seen bits of him in Game of Thrones and he looks really good in that. He's a good actor. Yeah. And because you can already tell from what he has said, he wants to do this to pay respect to Ray. And I think that is, that is such a good motivation to do a character justice. So I'm nervous, but I'm also very excited. Do I think he will be better than Ray Stevenson? No. Do I think he will fill the role well enough? Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. I have faith in the guy, and like you say, he knew Ray personally, so there'll be little bits as an actor that he can pick up from Ray, like to really dive into that character and do it justice. I'm excited about it. The Mortis stuff is some of my favorite lore stuff that there is. I just think that stuff's so interesting, and the fact that they're going to explore it just excites me.
I have a question about the Mortis stuff then for you.
Yeah.
Do you like the fact that they cut out Darth Bane and Darth Revan from the Mortis arc? Because I'm glad they did it. Or at least I'm glad they cut out Revan. I wish they kept Bane. I think Bane would work for something like that. I don't think... this is sort of why people often say, make an Old Republic movie made by Dave Filoni. Don't do that. Please don't, because I think when they sat down to do this, because look like the video or little documentary about it, Dave Filoni says, we wanted 2 uber evil Sith Lords for this, and you picked Revan.
Yeah,
you used the wrong character. If you were going to use an uber evil Sith Lord from the Old Republic, Darth Bane, fair enough, that fits, awesome. I don't know, use Malgus, or even Malik wasn't pure evil at the end. Use a genuine. Obviously, Malgus wasn't invented yet, so I'll bite my tongue there. Actually, that was more fuck up. Use Exile Kun. Because
Yeah.
by that point, Exile Kun, yeah, he was a spirit trapped on Yavin, but I still think they could have maybe somehow made it work. Revan is the last choice that I would have picked for that.
Agreed. I think that they went with the right choice anyway, and just not including any of that stuff.
Yeah, but I also wish we would have. I know it would have canonized Revan and probably KOTOR as well, but small price to pay for salvation, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think it needed that. I think it's just fine without it.
I do think it's funny though, how in the previs of the Darth Bane stuff, he's in the obelisk armor, and then in actual Clone Wars canon, he's in that bum ass demon samurai armor.
Yeah, I don't like
Weird,
that.
but apparently that was George Lucas's idea for what he. But again, great character design, bad design for Darth Bane, and also that we did the retcon where in canon Darth Bane was born on Korriban, and it's like, so you changed his origin then. So he's already. They can retcon stuff like that, though. We've seen it happen before. Canon is never set in stone for anything.
No, it's not. Especially when you're, that information comes from legends. It just can't at all be applied to canon, which, that goes back to Talon as well. If me or you were upset on, Talon being different in Shadow Lord, I mean, we can't really be, because that's legends, what we're comparing it to is legends.
I think it goes back to the old saying of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Darth Bane did not need to be retconned to be from Korriban.
No,
in fact, one of the cool things about his character is that he was some bum ass miner on Apatros, and then he got sent to the. I think that's a really cool origin, that the Sithari came from a random planet and stuff.
They explain in Path of Destruction that's why he's bald and everything, don't they? Because of his career in mining. Very
Someone did
stuff.
tell me, to be fair, I don't know how true this is, someone did tell me that the armor that he wears in the Clone Wars is like a Sith funeral armor. I really fucking hope that's the case.
Well, that's definitely a headcanon thing. People say headcanon really confidently that all the time.
That's very true. But
there's no source that says that, but it's decent headcanon. That's the first time I've heard that, but it is decent headcanon, to be fair.
And I know there's people that don't like the obelisk armor, and to be fair, I get that. I think the issue with the obelisk armor is that the helmet looks stupid. That's it.
Yeah.
But the helmet just looks kind of funny, and I think, like, he wears it on the Battle of Tython, and it's like, you're not asleep, why are you wearing it? If you want more aura, take the fucking helmet. Isn't the helmet also indestructible?
Well, the helmet was supposed to stop the obelisk from growing over his face, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I guess I think also they say that they try and cut his head off and they can't because he's got. So maybe also he's resistant to attacks as well. But I like the obelisk armor. I think it was a bit underutilized. I think people big it up a little bit too much, but it was cool. I think as a design, it's really fun and unique.
The layers to that character. I mean, what we said about the mines causing his hair loss and stuff. I mean, his whole image is explained in his backstory. Like, he's so big because of what he grew up doing. He's bald because of that as well. He wears the armor that he wears because of the obelisks attaching themselves to him. Every aspect of the character is explained in backstory or in story that's happening in the books. That can't be said for a lot of fictional characters. He's just really well written. Like, Drew's the fucking man, isn't he?
Exactly, and well, he's the man until it comes to the Jedi Exile, and then he fumbles just a little bit. But that's a topic for another day, because I don't think he handled her very well at all.
That would be a good topic for another day, actually. That'd be a really good.
But yeah, we've gone off topic again. We've done it again.
And unfortunately, I am going to have to wrap up the show because the family awaits. But always fun speaking on the podcast, bro.
Obviously, I loved it. I loved it just as much as episode 1. I think, aside from the fact that I didn't get a proper good shouting match in this time, it went well. So, but I'm glad that with this one, when the Mandalorian trailer dropped, my first thought was, "Oh fuck, we can talk about that in the podcast."
Yeah, it's good, man. Just having this as a platform for us to be able to just sit down for a couple of hours and just talk non-stop Star Wars, I think it's really good. And then hopefully, people that watch it live, people that watch it on demand on YouTube and stuff, and on Spotify. Hopefully, you all enjoy it as much as we do.
Hopefully, that's the main wish.
But yeah, we're going to continue doing these every other week, aren't we? And 4 o'clock is probably going to be the new start time, if that's cool with you.
Yeah, I'm free whenever. It's fine.
Yeah. So yeah, every other Sunday, 4 o'clock, we'll be back here talking shit and disagreeing a lot, but proving to everybody that you can fucking do that. You can disagree about Star Wars, and then you can get on with your fucking life like an adult.
Yeah, and until they say things like Old Republic's trash, and then disagreements get a bit more violent. But aside from that, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of things that you've said here that internally I'm just like, I'm shaking my head at, but it's never gonna make me respect you any less as a pal or as a Star Wars fan. I just think it's interesting, man. I think it's interesting that we all interpret this shit so differently. And
I could feel you biting your tongue through the Force.
Yeah, but it's it's fine, isn't it? I don't need to bite my tongue because I know that you're going to give me the opportunity to speak right after you stop speaking, and we're going to debate and disagree. Some things we agree on. Some things, like I said earlier, I knew that we had different thoughts about the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, but a lot that you said about it was right on par.
We even said here's some behind the scenes backstory. I messaged you have you seen the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer? And you asked me what I thought. Said that I didn't like it. I gave a few reasons. You said that you didn't agree, and then one of us just went podcast. Sorry for podcast. Sorry for the podcast. This is good stuff.
That main thing of me thinking that we was going to disagree comes from ultimately I did like the trailer because to me it looks like more of the thing that I like in the show.
Yeah.
But when you started talking about, the volume, it started making me think about season 3. And then just very quickly,
my main 2 issues is just the visuals. I think are terrible.
Yeah.
And I just think the main character of this movie is a boring character at this point. He's not really a character.
Yeah, but on the other hand, 90 seconds, as we said, that's all we've seen of it. So I guess we're going to give them the chance that we're both going to go to the cinema and see this thing.
Absolutely.
So they're going to get the chance to prove us wrong or right or whatever. Yeah, always, man. May the Force be with you too, Dark Warrior.
May the Force be with you. So yeah, that was episode 2.
You may disagree, but it's respect and love, sharing ideas. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's why we love doing it. That's why
I think there are some things where obviously people have said some stuff about Star Wars where I'm like, I disagree with you, but I also think you're a fucking idiot. Because there are some things that people say where it's like, no, you're a moron. Just plain and simple.
People bring very confident opinions to the table when they don't know what they're talking about. And that's never the case with me and you, because we'll only have strong opinions if we know what we're talking about. And that's kind of the difference between us debating something that we disagree on and someone flying into my comment section hating on me for liking The Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly. But again, disagreement. There's this whole thing with the fandom that disagreements just aren't allowed. It's such bullshit. Do you know how fucking boring this podcast would be if we just agreed with everything that we both said?
It would be pointless. I've literally seen, and I'm not going to name any names here, but I've seen Star Wars podcasts that I've turned off after 10 minutes because I've thought, right, there's no debate here. I'm not saying that arguing is like the whole point of being a Star Wars fan. despite what a lot of Star Wars fans might think. But I'm saying that, like, if you're just going to mindlessly agree with each other, then I'm happy for you that you do that. But I don't have a desire to listen to that podcast. Do you know what I mean?
That depends. I think that depends on the execution. If it's the kind of podcast where they just want to be happy about Star Wars and talk about Star Wars, and they happen to agree with each other, I think that's actually quite wholesome and stuff like that. But I think if they are disagreeing, but then they're not debating it, it's like, well, this is fucking boring.
Yeah. But there's what I mean though is when someone will put a take forward, and then the other person will give a counter argument, and then the other person will just go, "Oh yeah, true," and then they just move on. It's like, well, what was the point in having your opinion to begin with if you don't believe in it? Do you know what I mean? You've got to believe in the things that you're saying. But anyway, we will see everyone in 2 weeks' time. Yeah, we could rant on all day, bro. Well, let's be honest. Yeah, 2 weeks' time.
You could, but you're not sat there in this, so you could rant all day, but I can't. I can rant until my bottle runs out.
Yeah, and then you're fucked. You'll die. Fucking overheating, sunstroke.
Yep.
Right, may the force be with you all. Take care. Yep. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay.